Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the live, and thank you to our participants today. We have Alicia and Azaria in the house with us, and you would already know them from previous classes. So we're continuing Critical English Grade 7, and we're continuing the topic on summary writing. So we're going to go through some things that we did before. First, we're going to have Alicia tell us what she remembers about summary writing, and Azaria will tell us something. So one thing you remember, one thing you remember. Go ahead, Alicia.
That when we're writing a summary, we must always keep it write it briefly.
Briefly, very good. So 1 point from you. Briefly means short too, right? Azaria?
You don't
It's okay, take your time. All right, we're going to come back to you in a minute, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about what you did today. Alicia, tell me some things that you did today.
Relax.
You relaxed. Very good. Maybe you watch some TV and so forth. Sometimes people relax and they read a book or they paint or so. So if you did all of those things, but you want to summarize to your friend what you did today, or to your teacher who just asked, I relaxed. What did you do today? I relaxed today at home. End of story. That's your summary. You don't have to list all the things that you did. So you notice what you did? You took out all the examples. So when we're summarizing, we make our point. No need for examples. Azaria, back to you. I give away your point with the examples. You have anything else to add?
It doesn't really need similes.
Good. So similes, which is like as pretty as, or like, using like the sun is as hot as whatever, right? So we're just gonna say the sun is hot. End of story. We don't have to compare it to anything to prove our point. Good. So we're going to go through some of those transition words that we talked about the last time. And if you look at the screen, it should be up there as well. We're going to go through them again. So transition words. Are you seeing the blue highlighted parts there? So we did this before, but we were rushing through the last time. So I wanted us to spend some more time on it. And the first one there that we have is similarity. So sometimes when we're writing a summary, to make a point, we have to say that two things are similar, or it could be more than two things at times. So when we're doing, or when we're trying to make a point that these things or these things, whether two or more, are similar, what are some words we can use to indicate that they're similar? Look at the border. The examples are right there. The first one that we see there is also. So there's also. So once you say also, that indicates to whoever's reading or listening to you that these two things are connected, or these several things are connected to each other. In the same way, so in the same way, that also tells you similarity. What's the other one that we have there? Just as, so too. So you're comparing thing one with thing two. Then what are the other two we have there? Likewise and similarly. Have you seen all of these before, at least in some book or something that you were reading?
No.
Yeah, so they're similar to you, right? They're familiar to you. I think a lot of persons use likewise when they're comparing things. So maybe if you're saying, my mom has straight hair, likewise my sister. So you don't have to say likewise my sister has straight hair, because you already made a point that the mother has straight hair. My mother has straight hair, likewise my sister. Full stop. You don't have to repeat yourself again. So the next point that we have there is exception or contrast. So if we want to indicate that whatever we're talking about is making a distinction from something before. So remember the example, Justin, with the mother having straight hair. Maybe the daughter could have curly hair. So when you're making that contrast or exception, what are some words we can use according to what we have on screen there? But. So like a sentence could be, my mother has straight hair, but I have curly hair. So that indicates a difference there. There is however. I'm sure you've seen that in a passage before. What about in spite of? Have you seen that one before?
Not really.
Not really. But even if you do know this one, this may not be a good option because it's 3 words and you're looking to bring down words. So let's just look at the others. On the other hand, sorry, on the one hand. So on the one hand, thing 1 is like this. On the other hand, thing 2 is like that. So let's go to the other ones that we have there. Nevertheless, nonetheless, notwithstanding, in contrast, on the contrary, still and yet. Which one have you seen a lot of use? Which of these have you seen used a lot, Alicia?
Nevertheless.
Nevertheless, good. What about you, Azaria? Which one have you seen used a lot, or maybe when you're reading a book or something? Which word?
Nevertheless.
Nevertheless. So both of you got the same thing. The other one is sequence or order. And this one is quite easy to remember. Remember math, when you're doing math, you're talking about sequence. So you can either count up in ascending order or count down in descending order and all those fancy things, right? So for summaries, you can say first, second, third, especially if it's a process. For example, if you're making a kite and there are different things that you have to do when making the kite. First, this, second, this. You go through the different stages, correct? Then what are some other words we can use to indicate sequence or order? Oh no, that's time. Let's go back to order. So after we have first, second, and third, then we have next, then, and finally. Good. And usually the final one comes finally, right? That's the last one. So time now, if we're indicating time, what are some words that are there to indicate time in terms of transition? After, afterward, at last, before, currently. So which one of those have you heard a lot or seen used a lot in books or so?
After, before.
After, before. What about you, Alicia?
Currently and probably before.
Currently and before. Very good. Now look at that one called simultaneously. Ever heard of that one before? It's a big word, right? Now there's a topic that's going to come up in math for you, probably in grade 9, called simultaneous equations. So they give you a problem that has two problems in one. To solve for one, you have to find the other. So to find x, you need to know the value of y. So simultaneous means doing 2 things at the same time. You know, sometimes persons can eat 2 different things at the same time. They can have a piece of mango in their mouth and a piece of papaya. I don't know if you've tried that before. Or you mix your cereals and you eat 2 different things at the same time. Or curry and roti. You don't just eat the curry by itself or the roti by itself, you eat both together. So simultaneously, you're eating both the curry and the roti at the same time. So when we're referencing time, if we want to say we're doing both of these things together, simultaneously is a word we can use. And the one for example, I'm sure you've seen that a lot, right? Would we need to use this one in our summary? No, because we're not putting examples in our summary, correct? Good, so no examples, so we wouldn't need to use this. You only use examples if you want to elaborate a point, and we're not doing that for summary. So we have the other list there. There is emphasis, and we don't need to add emphasis to anything because we're sticking to whatever is there. Cause and effect, we may have to talk about this. So next to cause and effect, we have accordingly, consequently, hence, so, therefore, and thus. Which of these words have you heard before? Accordingly? Very good. Additional support or evidence, would we need this in summary? Do we need to put more evidence in the summary? No, we're keeping it as basic as possible, so we won't need to use this. Conclusion, we won't need to summarize the whole passage because the summary already condenses the passage or makes it shorter. So we don't need to worry with those things. But I'll have to tell you what we're going to worry with. Let me open up this other page now. Save. Oh, it's already open, sorry. So what are you seeing here on the screen? You may have seen it at nights as well.
Moon.
It's the moon. Have you seen the moon before?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you see it usually? What shape have you seen it in before? Full moon, crescent. Have you seen all those shapes before?
Yeah.
Good. Do you know a lot about the moon? Yeah.
Really?
What do you know about the moon, Alicia?
The phases it goes
The phases. So there's the waxing, there's the waning, etc., etc. Correct? What about you, Azaria? What do you know about the moon?
The tides are
The-
connected with the
Good. So the moon affects the tides, right? Or the tides are affect. The tides go in and come out based on the moon, whatever it does, right? And that's due to its gravitational pull, forces, science coming in there, and all of that. So what I want us to do is to have a read at this National Geographic stuff. It's about the moon, and it was written in 2019, so that's before the pandemic. Good. So we're going to go through reading. It's a lot of paragraphs. It's a long read, but we're not going to read all of it today. But what we're trying to do as we're reading it, we're going to pick out the main points. You're going to identify what the examples are, and we're not going to bother with them. You're going to point out where they were trying to give extra details, and we're not going to bother with that. What about if they give figures? Should we bother with figures that are there? Or if they mentioned names of people and so forth, no, we shouldn't really mention. Just stick to it. We're talking about the moon, so everything has to be related to the moon. So let's start with the first paragraph. The moon, comma, Earth's sole natural satellite, is our constant companion. It has circled our planet for billions of years, since before the first sparks of life flickered in the oceans. Before Earth was even cool enough to have oceans. So this entire paragraph is telling us what really? Take out the fluff, and what are we left with? You can start with the moon. What are some things they said about the moon? Let's go through that.
It's Earth's natural satellite.
Good. Earth's natural satellite. What else? It calls it our companion because we're always seeing it there. It said it has been around for billions of years. And since we can't put figures there, what is a term we can use to capture all of that? The moon has... We don't want to put figures. We don't want to put billions of years, but what can we replace billions of years with and make it shorter?
For a century?
All right, so centuries will be similar to billions of years, but it's shorter. But we don't want to mention numbers. So what's a term we can use to capture all of that? If somebody is 99 years old and you don't want to say they're 99 years old, what will you say? They have been alive for a very long time, correct? Because so the moon has existed for a long time. You haven't mentioned the number of years, you haven't mentioned the billions of years, but you're saying that it has been around for a long time. Everybody's okay with that? Good. So the moon has been around for a long time, or has existed for a long time. That's our main thing there. Let's continue. Or we can even say, remember the first sentence says Earth's sole natural satellite? So we don't have to say all that, but we can say the Earth's moon, because the moon is not the only moon in the whole galaxy there, or the whole universe. The moon that we're talking about is the one that we would see at nights, right? So we can say the Earth's moon has existed for a very long time, full stop. So we say which moon we're talking about, and we say how long it's been around. So the next paragraph starts with a but. So remember when we were talking about the transition earlier? When you see a but in a sentence, it signifies what? We're talking about, what's the example I give? My mother has straight hair, but I have curly hair. We're looking at a difference. So the minute you see but, think what different will they now say? So let's read the passage. But its seemingly tranquil position in modern night skies stems from a remarkably tumultuous past. It formed some 1.5 billion years ago when the solar system was in its infancy and comets, meteors, and asteroids ricocheted throughout. One such collision between Earth and a Mars-sized orb likely flung molten rock out into space, some of which coalesced and cooled to form what we now know as the moon. So the word there, tranquil, do we know what it means in the first line of the second paragraph that we just read? Tranquil. If something is described as tranquil, is it chaotic or is it peaceful? Usually you would hear tranquil, peace and tranquility. Have you heard that term before? So is it like a good thing or a bad thing? It's a good thing, good. So it says here, but its seemingly tranquil, or we can say peaceful position in modern night sky stems from a remarkably tumultuous past. So was it always peaceful? It had a bad history, let's just say that, right? Where rocks were being flung from here, there, all sorts of stuff, right? So what's the main point of this? So it was formed from, what's the main word you're seeing there? One such collision, right? So collision is when two things hit into each other. Have you ever seen two things collide? Your little toe ever catch on the foot of something and it collide with it? It hurts, right? It pains. Good. So we're talking about the collision between Earth and a Mars-sized orb or whatever. So basically, what are we trying to say? The moon was formed from rocks. It is a rock, actually. But it was formed from what? The word we just talked about, a collision. What's another word we can use for collision? Because we have to use our own words. It was formed from a... I think you know what it means. You just don't know the word to express it. You know what I'm talking about, right? So let's just keep that word in mind, a collision. It was formed from a collision a long time ago. So we're going to come back. Think about the word as we go on. Let's go to the next paragraph. This early formation and close ties with young Earth makes the moon one of the most promising places to explore the birth and development of our solar system and home planet. The moon also preserves many of its ancient features. Unlike Earth, it doesn't have plate tectonics to continually reface the landscape, nor does it have wind and rain wearing down ancient rocks. So which part of this sentence, of this paragraph, do we not want to keep? Which is too fluffy? Which is too much details? When they say unlike Earth, should we put all of that there? No, it doesn't relate to the moon. It's talking about what Earth is doing. So the early formation and the close ties with Earth, one of the promising places, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, what they're trying to say is if we understand the moon, we can understand what?
The Earth.
The Earth. Good. So the more knowledge that is acquired about the moon, the more we will learn about Earth. So I want you to put that in one nice little sentence for me. That's the whole idea. The more we learn about this moon, we can learn about the Earth. What's a word we can use for that? Okay, so to know, what's another word we can use for know? To know something. To have what? Knowledge. Good. So knowledge about the moon, we don't want to say sheds light because that would be like a simile. Knowledge on the moon provides details on or about which planet, which other planet we're talking about? Earth. Good. See how easy that is? So that entire paragraph that you're seeing there, we shrunk that to just one line. So you see how we're doing it in bits and pieces? So the idea now is to use these bits and pieces that you have and smash it all together using transitions like therefore accordingly, so forth and so on. You get the drift. So we're not writing like I explained to you earlier. We're just going through this orally. And this exact passage here you can find on nationalgeographic.com. So if you want to check it out online, you can check that out. And for the girls here, I'm going to send you the link so you can read more. And then I'll expect you to write something on it for me. But we're not doing any writing in today's class. So let's continue with our stuff there. So before we continue though, it mentioned plate tectonics, and it's an example that we will not be keeping in our summary, but do you understand what plate tectonics is? You've heard the term before?
Yeah.
Have you heard of earthquakes before?
Yeah.
Do you think that the world as it is right now was the world that it was 100 years ago, 100 billion years ago?
No.
It was different. So, the earth is made up of layers. I think we had a conversation about layers before somehow. I remember a conversation. You know an onion, right? You've helped chop onion before? So it has those layers. When you chop it in half, you can see those little parts there. So the earth is something like that. It is made up of layers. So because it's made up of layers, these layers aren't intact like the onion. It's like different pieces lying on top of each other. So when the ground shifts, sometimes what happens, you have a movement of the plate tectonics and they shift. And if they come apart and they go back close together, you either have a tsunami or you have a volcano, or a piece of a mountain is formed. But these things take time. So we may not see a mountain just appear like that out of the blue, but we may see a volcano just erupt like that, and then we wonder why it happens. So the movement of these plates in the ground or within the earth's core, not the core, within the layers of the earth, once they start moving, even little bits of movements, eventually those will add up to something. And it either creates an earthquake or sometimes a tsunami. Because if it shifts like this and comes back, then it's going to gush the water out basically. And I'm talking too much again. All right, so that's homework for you to check out on plate tectonics. But let's continue. Generations of astronomers have studied this small, airless world, so it doesn't have air, from its pock-marked surface to its dense iron core. So basically, it got a lot of holes on its surface. That's what they're talking about. It's the only other world humans have set foot upon and a prime candidate for future visits. So, what's the main point there? Humans setting foot. What's another term we can use for humans setting foot on the moon? If I set foot into your house, what's another way you can say it? Enter, good. But I can enter into your house, but I can't enter into the moon, right? So what's another term I can use? If I want to come by you, what am I actually doing? Visit. So humans can visit the moon. So visit isn't here, but we're coming up with that word to make up for a word that they have, because we can't use their words. We have to use our own words. So humans can visit the moon, basically. But is that really like an important point to what we've been developing so far? Maybe it may become important, but right now let's just keep a little thing on it, because we're not sure if we will need more information on that part. Let's see what it says here. Luna's shifting surface. So who is Luna now? They were talking about the moon all the time. Why did they shift to Luna? Who's Luna? What is Luna? No idea?
No.
You think we're talking about somebody? You think they made a mistake here? So Luna is another word for the moon. Some languages have it as Luna. Our language has it as moon. But if you have a lunar eclipse, it's when the moon goes through that shifting where it turns totally black, basically, right? You know what an eclipse is? Yeah? Have you ever seen one? Some more homework again. All right, so Luna's shifting phase. We're talking about the moon's phase again. There are more than 190 moons orbiting the planets. We said that before, remember? And asteroids in our solar system. And Earth's moon is the fifth largest of the lot. Let's stop right there. So, do we have to say that there are more than 190 moons? No. But what can we say to mean the same thing or something similar? There are many moons. Excellent. So many covers all of that. And no figures are used, but the same meaning is there. See how we're getting it? Super easy. And asteroids in our solar system, and Earth's moon is the fifth largest of the lot. We cannot say fifth largest because we're using numbers again. So what can we say instead? So there are many moons, and Earth's moon is one of the
Biggest?
yes, biggest. So they have said largest here, but we don't want to use their word. So biggest, excellent word. Or another word, let's just keep that word. It spans about 2,160 miles across, nearly one-third the width of Earth, orbiting at an average of 30 Earth widths away. We don't need all that. All that is too much fluff, right? That's basically telling us that it's big and it's huge and gigantic or whatever. Good. So let's continue. So there's a photo of the moon again. And we're going back to the passage. We're going to try to wrap up with this here because we're running low with time. So every 27.3 days, the moon makes its way around our planet while also completing one turn on its axis. So going around our planet, what is one word for that, going around something? Rotation. Excellent. You see your science class is coming in handy here, right? So every 27.3 days, the moon makes a rotation around the planet, the Earth, known as synchronous rotation. So remember we talked about that word where two things are happening at the same time? This is another word for that, synchronous. This celestial dance means that the same lunar face always peers down at us. Viewed from Earth, the amount of the moon illuminated by the sun appears to wax and wane. Remember these terms, Alicia? Wax and wane. Recreating the familiar cycle from new moon to crescent to full. This sequence is a combined result of the moon's changing position relative to both the Earth and sun, requiring 29.5 days to complete one full lunar cycle. All right, we're going to stop there. So we're talking about the rotation of the moon around the Earth, and that creates a cycle. So this same cycle that we're talking about, think about the months of the years that we have. They're closely related to the moon cycle as well. There's a scientific reason and a traditional reason to that, but we're not going to go into that. And this is the fun part I want to show you just before we go. Even though the same side of the moon always faces Earth, there's no true dark side, as many mistakenly call our lunar orbs far side. Even the far side of the moon receives sunlight, we just can't see it. And the section of the moon illuminated on any given day shifts depending on the moon's rotation. So we don't really have any important details here except that the entire moon is illuminated by the sun, or what's another word for illuminated? Illuminated has to do with lights, right? Lights, camera, action, good. Illuminated, so the moon is lit up by the sun. So the light that you see from the moon at nights, it doesn't have its own light. It has to shine what the sun projects onto it. I'm talking to little two. Hi. You understand?
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, thank you. So let's try to wrap up what we did here. Alicia, in one sentence, what did you learn about the moon today?
I learned that it is made up of rocks.
Mm-hmm. It's a big giant rock. Very good.
And it can go through many different. It went through disruption before it became a moon.
Good. So it had to go through a disruption first before. Exactly. Very good. And I like how to use the word disruption instead of collision. Very good. That's another way to say it. Azario.
No, that's not one called the moon, but
So it's one of many moons. And?
it's also called the lunar.
Good. Another word for moon is luna. Excellent. So I think you girls did a great job. So I will send the link to you, and that's when you're going to do the write-up for me. So if you're at home and you're looking at this and you would like to do some refreshing course on summary writing as well, feel free to go on nationalgeographic.com, and you're going to find this article on the moon. It shouldn't be too hard for you to find. And you can also try to summarize the first 3 paragraphs at home, and you can ask your teacher when you head to school if what you did was the right thing. And I'm sure they'll be happy that you're learning something new. So next time you see the moon, remember another word for it is Luna. So thank you so much for coming, girls. I am going to see you next week. Have a great weekend and enjoy your next class, which is math with Miss Najima. All right. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are back in studio again with another session of Critical Math, grade 6 to 7. So today we are looking at profit and loss percent. And so let's begin our session by examining the content for today. So in our previous session, we were looking at profit and the loss. So we're continuing with our concept today, and we've added a new word, percent. All right? So we have 2 objectives for today. The first objective is to calculate profit and loss percent. And our second objective is to solve simple problems relating to situations arising in real life as it relates to profit and loss percent. All right? So if you can remember from the last time, we had mentioned that, profit is the amount of money gained, right? And loss would be the amount of money. Okay, cool. Great. All right. And so we've also mentioned that to find profit, right, your selling price has to be more than the cost price. And then you make a loss when your
Cost price is bigger than the
cost price is larger than your selling price, right? So that's exactly what we looked at the last time. So continuing today, so we have a scenario again. So we have Alicia and Azaria with us, double A's. And so we have a scenario here again. So we're starting with Alicia. So Alicia bought a pen for $10 and she sold the pen for $20. So what is her profit? $10. So we know that profit equals SP. Remember, it's SP and CP, right? SP minus CP. SP stands for selling price and CP stands for cost price. So in the first case, our selling price is $20 and our cost price is $10. So the difference between the two prices is $10. Right? So Alicia has made a profit of $10 after she sold a pen for $20, which she had bought for $10. Great. Azaria now. So instead of a pen, she decided that she's going to buy a book. And the cost of the book is $40. And she decided to sell that book again, right, for $50. So we have two businesswomen with us here. So what is her profit?
$10.
$10 as well. So profit equals SP minus CP. So in the first case, it's $50 the book was sold for, and it cost her $40. So she made a profit of $10. So both of you made a profit of $10. So where does the percentage come in? All right. So question, who made a bigger profit?
No one.
Hmm?
No one.
No one?
No.
Why you say no one? So profit-wise, both of you have the same amount, right? So both of you have the same amount of profit. However, now that's where percentage comes in now. So percentage is going to tell you on a scale from 1 to 100 who made the larger profit, right? Good. So if somebody asks you from a scale from 1 to 10, what is your liking for ice cream? So if you like ice cream, you might say 10 out of 10, right? Or 5 out of 10, halfway, right? If it's 2 out of 10, you don't have that much liking for ice cream, right? If it's 9 out of 10, you also have a great liking for ice cream. So based on profit and loss here, as it relates to the question, right? Both of you made, the profit turns out to be the same amount, which is $10, right? And so percentage-wise is going to distinguish between the two of you as it relates to who made the larger profit, all right? Now we calculate this profit as a percentage of the cost price. So that's how the percentage comes in, all right? So to calculate the percent for both of you, right? So we need to have here profit percent is equal to the profit divided by the cost price. It's always over the cost price. And you're multiplying that by 100. Okay? So, are we on point here?
Yeah.
Great. So to distinguish between Azaria and Alicia as to who made the bigger profit, that's where percentage comes in. And so let's check out Alicia and then Azaria as well. And we'll do that comparison there. So remember, profit percent equals the profit. Let me use red here so that it's very visible. Profit over, I'm going to write CP here, times 100. So let me do a demarcation here because 2 persons. Great. So, Alicia, what is your profit?
$10.
So it's $10. So let me just simply write 10. What is your cost price?
$10.
10 multiplied by 100. So what is your profit percentage? So if you cancel here, 10 cancels 10. So you have 100. So you have 100%. Right? So let's check out Azaria's case. So profit again, PRO, profit over CP times 100. So Zaria, what is your profit?
$3.
$10. What was your cost price? Because it's always the profit over the cost price, right? So what's the cost price? 40 multiplied by 100. So 10 into 10, 1, 10 can go into 40. 4 times. How many times 4 can go into 100?
400.
100 divided by 4. Come on. 25. So we have here, she got it, 25%. So who made, so in comparison, who did better profit-wise? Alicia did better profit-wise. All right? So what happened here is that Alicia, you bought the pen. I think it was a pen, right? So you bought the pen for $10 and you sold it for $20. So you made back the money that you've bought the pen for. Right? So your profit is 100%. So that is what it is saying. Azaria, you're on the other end, 25%. So it means you got back a fraction of the cost that you paid for the pen. Right? You think you follow how it's going?
Yeah.
So you got back a fraction of the cost. So your cost was $40, and you made a profit of $10. So in other words, 25% profit you made on that book that you sold. You think so you're seeing the weighting. So if you look at it from 1 to 100, can you say where you are on that line? If we use a line, so if we have a line here, 1 to 100, Alicia's here, and Azaria, you're below here. You're here. Right? So that's how you can compare who's having more and who's having less in terms. All right? So although the profit was the same, profit percent gives you an idea of how much. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Good. So then, now what about loss percent? So the percent would also give you an idea as to how much money was lost too, all right? So just like our profit percent will give you an idea how much money you gained, right? On the spectrum from 1 to 100, it's the same with loss percent. But the difference is, so remember profit, let me get my pen. Profit percent equals profit over cost price multiplied by 100. So in terms of loss percent, all you're doing is replacing the what? The profit with loss, right? So instead of profit, you have loss here. We can write this in blue. So it's loss. How much was lost over the cost price? Cost price remains cost price because that's the original price. Multiply by 100. So there's the difference, right? So profit percent, profit over the cost price times 100. Loss percent would be how much was lost, which is the loss over the cost price multiplied by 100. So that's the difference between those two. All right? Good. So to examine what we looked at, so can you help me fill that out? Because we just examined it. So profit percent equals, I'm listening. Profit
over cost price multiplied
over CP times 100. Loss over CP, great, times 100. Right? And the third thing that we've learned there is that the profit percent and the loss percent are always calculated on the cost price. So it's not the selling price, it's always the cost price. Any questions?
Nope.
Great. So, practice next. So we have some cases here, A to F. So the first one is, the question says, find the gain or loss percent when, part A, the cost price is equal to 350. Okay, let me increase this a bit for those of us necessarily can't see. Let me increase it a bit. Oops. I'm distorting it a bit. Is that better? Great. So, find the gain or loss percent when? Part A. So we have a cost price of $350 and we have a selling price of $400. So set up your algorithm so that you can find. So first of all, so the cost price is $350, the selling price is $400. Did the person make a profit or a loss based on observation? Profit. Why is it profit?
Because the selling price is more than the cost price.
Exactly. The selling price is greater than the cost price. Great. So when you finish, you're going to help me set up the part A of the question, right? All right. So part A, let me write here. Part A. CP equals 350. SP equals 400. Right? So Alicia said we have made a profit. And that equals SP minus CP, right? So 400 minus 350, right in the corner there. How much is it? 50. Wonderful. $50. So then profit percent, So we can write this at the bottom here. Profit percent equals profit over CP times 100. Right? So that's 50 over cost price 350
Yes.
times 100. So notice the dollar sign will cancel with the dollar sign. That's what happens as well, right? Like terms. So once you're dividing, like terms will cancel out. You getting through?
Yes.
How much? Okay, thanks. So let's divide here. We can do 10 here. Right? So let's be divided by 10. Right? So 5 into 5, 1. 5 into 35 is 7. So we are dividing 7 into that. 7 can go into 10. 1 time, 7 1 7. 3 remains. Bring down to 0. 7 into 30. 4. 7 4 is 28. And 2 remaining. That's okay? So, what do? Put the decimal point. So you're learning more than one thing here, right? Add a 0. Bring it down. 7 into 20. 7 twos. 14. How much remaining? That's a 4, right? 6. So we can stop there. So we can round it off to approximately, right? You can use this. This is a symbol that is used. It's approximately 14.2%. Right? Approximately. Right, so because we have more values coming after that, that too, really. So it's an approximation. All right, so you see how many concepts coming out with your loss and profit
We can
percent.
probably put it like 14 and
14 and 2 over 7. So you want to, or we can do that as well. So you can have, so, okay, let me use another, okay, let me use right here. You can have it as a fraction, yes. So if we divide back 100, right? 7, 7 1 7, and 3 remaining. Bring down to 0. 7 4 is 28. How much remaining? And 2. So it can also be 14 and 2 over 7%. Right? So you can have it as a mixed number or as a decimal. One or the other. Right? So it depends on, sometimes you get instructions saying leave your answer as a fraction or express your answer as a decimal, things like that, right? So it depends on the scenario. But you must be comfortable with either decimal or a fraction. All right? Cool. So what about, let's jump the gun and go to D. This is A, B, C. This is supposed to be D. Let's check out D. This is supposed to be D and not B again. This is supposed to be D. So let's go to D and see what's happening in D. So we have a cost price of $720 and we have a loss of $63. So let's go on the next page. Let me put a page in between here. So we have a cost price of, so CP, I think $720. And we have loss $63. Loss equals $63. All right. So we have CP and we have loss. So we're expected to find what? Loss percent. Wonderful. So loss percent equals loss over CP multiplied by 100. All right. So our loss, $63 divided by $720 multiplied by 100. There's several ways you can go. So you can either multiply numerator with numerator, right? Or you can multiply, so it depends on which route you want to take. So you can either multiply the 63 by 100 to get 6,300, and then you divide that by the 720. Your choice. Or you can cancel the 720 with 100, right? And then you can deal with the 63 after. So you have a choice. So if we cancel here, and we can try 2. 2 can go into 10 how many times? 5 times? And 2 can go into 72 how many times? No stress. Always set up your long division. 2, 72, right? 2 can go into 7. 2 3s, 6. 1 remaining. 2 into 12, 6. It's 36. So here you have 36. All right, so you cannot cancel 5 with 36, so you need to multiply 63 by 5. So 63 multiplied by 5. 5 3 is 15. 5 6 is 30, and 1 31. All right, so we are dividing 315 by, so we have here 315 divided by 36. Dollar sign cancels out. You set up your long division again. 36 out here, 315. And then you go. All right? Everybody following the multiplication and division? Great. So, what's happening with 36? How many times 36 can go into 315? So it's like saying you 36 times tables, right? So that's one way. So it's like 36. Let's check it out 2 times. 2 6 is 12. 2 3 6 and 1 7. So we need to go down a bit more. 36 by, let's write 5. 5 6 is 30. 5 3 is 15, and 3. That's 18. Gotta go a bit. 36 times what? 7. 7 6 is 42. 7 3 is 21. 21 and 4. 25. We still gotta go down, right? So because we need a number which is greater than 315, right? Greater than 300. Let's go. So it's 36 times 8. Let's try 8. 8 6 is 48. 8 3 is 24, and 4. 28. More. 36 by 9. 9 sixes, that's 54. 9 threes, 27. 27 and 5. 32. So it means that 9 is going over, 8 is just under. So that's 8. 36 by 8, that's 288. Let's subtract and see what we have. So we're borrowing from here, that's 2, that's 11, and this becomes 10, and that's 15. 15 take 8. 7. And 10 take 8, that's 2. So what we have? We going all right? Look, we write all over the page, right? So you can say 8 and the 27 over 36. That could be broken down as well, right? So it's actually 8 and 27 over 36. But the 27 over 36 can be broken down, right? Because you'll have 27 is a multiple of 3, and 36 is also a multiple of 3. Or you can use 9. How many times 9 can go into 27? 3 times. And 9 can go into 36 how many times? 4 times. So you'll have 8 and 3/4%. Right? So we went all over the page here to arrive at 8 and 3/4%. Yeah? Any question?
No.
Very good. All right, so you have tons of exercises so that you can improve on the concept. All right. Any questions before we go?
No.
All right. So going back a bit. All right. So profit percent will be profit over cost price. It's always over the cost price times 100. Loss percent is the loss over the cost price again, multiplied by 100. Right? So the key factor here in calculating profit percent and loss percent is the cost price there. Get the idea? That's it. So thank you for being with us this week. And next week, we are looking forward for a new concept, probably algebra. All right, so we're going to have some fun again as it relates to algebra. Thank you for watching.